I know most of you know that my father's in hospice care and kind of moving closer to death, and so of course I'm thinking a lot about this now. And I also was remembering yesterday I talked about a book that I had read, but today I'm thinking about a book that is called A Year to Live, and I think the author is Stephen Levine, but I'm not 100% sure because I also read this book a very long time ago, and it's about if you had a year to live, if someone told you, you have a year to live, how would it change your perspective on your day-to-day living? How would it shift your mindset? How would it shift how you interact with people? How would it shift your ability to stop and pause and experience the beauty in the world? And I think it's really valuable for, none of us need to like go shifting our entire lives around, but I think it's very valuable to keep this in the mind, at the front of our mind, that um, impermanence is the state of what we are experiencing, whether we, our controlling mind likes to pretend that it's not. But ultimately, excuse me, ultimately, this is the truth, is that our lives here are impermanent. And whether it's a year from now, a day from now, or decades from now, we all have to kind of face this. And when we do, perhaps there's a gift in there of being able to really savor the gifts of this precious life that we have. So I'll just tell you one quick story about my parents. My dad is in the stage of getting very close. And yesterday there was a big storm. I think most of you heard about the storm on the East Coast, and there was a big nor'easter a couple days ago. And my parents woke yesterday morning to, they live in Cape Cod, and they woke to the most beautiful, beautiful, my mom said it was the most beautiful thing she's ever seen, just glistening snow with this bright sunrise. And they live on a pond, and the trees and the frozen lake, and just all this beauty. And it brought both of them to this very emotional place of just savoring beauty as it arises. And I think when we forget that we have to savor these moments, they can pass us by. We get busy, we get focused on other things, and we forget to just pause and stop and experience the beauty that is all around us in every moment. I think many of you have heard about the study where, I can't remember his name, but one of the world's best violinists played one of the world's best violins in some of the world's best music in the subway in New York City. And just, dressed in normal clothes, playing this beautiful music on the most beautiful violin. And he's one of the world's best violinists, fills concert halls for thousands and thousands of dollars. And yet here he is playing in the subway. And they did this experiment of videotaping him to see who would stop. And this is busy commuter time, lots of people heading to work. And so few people stopped. So Joshua Bell, thank you, Paula. So few people stopped to listen to this beautiful music. And most of the people that did were children. And I think you can find the video of that somewhere. I'm sure you can, but Joshua Bell, and you can look up that experiment. But it's really just an indicator of what beauty is and how we come to experience it because of the way we choose to focus in on it. So that's just the yoga homework for now, is to really notice the precious things that are all around you, the smells of the soup that you're cooking, the hug from the person that you love, the way your pets are, the sunrise, the sunset, whatever it is. So let's just take a moment. I'm getting a note, a couple people are saying that you can't talk and your video is shut off also on my side. Ooh, can you not hear me? Somebody, you can hear me, right? Yeah, okay. So I'm not sure, Laura, what's happening there. So I think it's on your end. So mess with that a little bit and see what you can do, because I'm pretty sure everybody else can hear. Oh, you can hear and see me. Okay. All right, great. All right. So so let's go ahead and close your eyes for a moment, and let's just contemplate this sense of not wanting to miss the precious moments. Okay, so um, what already today have you missed? Has there been a moment that you could have connected with a pet or with a person or with something in nature, and you've chosen a different view in your mind? Right? And what are the moments so far today that you haven't missed? What have you allowed yourself to really savor and cherish? So as you close your eyes, let's just think about this for a moment and allow yourself to center and ground, and know that your yoga practice is this gift of cultivating the skill of present moment awareness. The more we access this, the more we are aware to experience the beauty and gifts all around us. So focus on your breathing, and even your breathing can be a gift. The simplicity of and ease of the breath. Allow your shoulders to rest. Allow your hands to rest. Feel yourself coming into that state of ease that the breath gives the body and mind. Tether the thinking to the breathing. Feel that sense of grounding in your pelvis, finding some roots. Place your palms together at your heart. And let's bow in, creating an intention. What is it that you need today? Relax the hands and find your way onto your mat. All right. So as you lie down, I'm going to change the lighting in here because I feel it's kind of bright there. As you lie down onto your back, let's just enjoy that sense of coming into your practice, the beauty of coming home to your body. And remember always that this practice is for you, that you can follow me, you can ignore me. Everything is just an invitation and a suggestion. Nothing's a demand on you. So listen to your body. Let it be the leader of your practice. Let's stretch now if it feels good. Lengthening one side and lengthening the other side. Maybe you haven't moved much yet today. And can you, even if you have moved a lot already today, let's experience the gift of just coming home to opening the body. Bring your knees into your chest and let's rock a little bit, swaying from side to side. And let's circle your knees, kind of rolling in one direction and rolling in the other direction. And just finding some ease across your sacrum. Let's open up the knees, third direction. Just enjoying what's available in your hip joints here. Right knee into your chest, left leg on the ground. Feel that extension. Let's move around in your feet. You can wiggle through your toes and roll your ankles. Something as familiar as this that we do, pretty much every time we step on the mat, we have a moment of letting our feet wake up. So let's enjoy both the familiarity and the newness of this sensation. How's your breath? Stay with it as best as you can. Let's switch legs when you're ready. Left knee coming in, right leg on the ground. Feel into that rolling mobility in your ankles and let the sensation travel up into your calves and shins. And then stretch out open into a star on the ground, opening your body out. Wiggle your fingers and toes out there in space. And then draw your knees into your chest and give a little rounded spine, a big hug in. One more time, feeling that open body expand through your arms and legs. And as your exhale rises, curl to a little ball. Let's try a third time. Feeling that open expanse, breathing deeply. And exhale, coming in small and snug. Relax your head back down onto the ground. Put your right thigh over your left thigh and draw your knees toward your chest and just open up that hip a little bit. Maybe you want to rock, maybe you want to sway. We're going to turn this into a twist in just a moment, but just first, just feel that rocking and moving, maybe pulsing your knees toward your chest and away. All right, and then we're going to bring our arms out to the sides. You can twist either way. You know, it's okay to twist in either direction right now. But for today, let's go ahead and find our hips scooting over to the right and bring your knees down to your left. Now, this is a big twist. So if you want to put a block underneath your knees, you can do that. Feel the openness across your chest. Let your spine open up here. Breathing deeply. Maybe your head turns in opposition. And now let's just do both ways. Why not? Okay, come back to neutral. Settle your hips neutral. Keep your legs right where they are. And let's scoot the hips to the left. And as your knees drop over to the right, again, you can find a block to kind of wedge underneath your legs somewhere to support this posture. Feel into that internal rotation on that left hip. Breathing deeply. And then unwind your legs, 2 legs straight up in the air. No strap, let's just hold up with our own strength. Arms up overhead, out to the sides or down, your choice. Flex and point your feet while you're here. Start to engage the core, feel that support system of your center body. Okay. And let's separate the feet a little bit wider now. Still, you can be rolling through your ankles if you want to. And now we're going to turn some bigger circles with our legs. You don't have to have huge circles, just find what feels good. You might want to point your toes so you're like drawing little circles on the ceiling. Be very mindful that your spine is supported by your core. Okay, we're not overdoing. Now circle your legs the other way. And you might notice, you know, we've done those twistings on one side, but not the other. How do your legs feel in relation to each other? Or can you start to notice any discrepancies of strength? Okay, draw your knees back into your chest. Give yourself a little hug. Relax your core and your back. Let it be at ease. Put your right foot onto the ground. Let's put our left leg over our right and bring our knees up toward our chest. And a couple of pulses or rocking or any kind of movement that's going to get those muscles around your hip joints to ease a bit. Full breaths. We're going to put our foot down, and lift your hips, scoot them over to the left, and we're going to drop our knees over to the right. Again, the block can be underneath your knees. If you need a little stop gate, this is a big twist. So if your body's not quite ready for that extreme, support yourself with a block. Big breath. Open up through your chest. And come back up. Keep your legs where they are. Scoot your hips to neutral, and then scoot your hips to the right and drop your knees over to the left. And see if you feel that little bit of a tug of that internal rotation on the right thigh, opening up your hip in a different way. A block can be anywhere wedged underneath your legs to support this pose. Notice how your 2 sides might feel differently. And go ahead and lift those legs back up. Feet on the ground this time. Ground your heels. We're going to do a couple of moving bridges. So inhale, arms come overhead, pelvis comes up to whatever height your body is ready for in this moment.
And then exhale and lower your pelvis and your arms back down. Twice more. Inhaling, hips come high as much as you want them to be, arms overhead. Exhale and lowering your body back down. One more time, grounding the four corners of your feet, lifting your pelvis, stretch your arms overhead, and then exhale and lower yourself back down. We're already starting to warm up some of these muscles. So lift into a very low bridge. So I want you to feel like you're just an inch or so off the ground. Just a little bit where we can start to feel some of the muscles of our legs kick into gear. Feel your inner thighs. Imagine you have a block between them. Okay? Ground through the four corners of your feet. And then as you lift your hips just a little bit higher, start to feel your glutes and your hamstrings turn on. And adjust the positioning, whatever feels good to you. And then play a little bit with, we're just turning on a lot of muscles. So push your feet away from your chest and feel your quads turn on. Pull your feet toward your spine and feel your hamstrings, your glutes turn on. And maybe just kind of push back and forth between these two places, where we just subtly and very gently start to feel the muscles that wrap around our femur bones. And then hug to the midline with your feet. Imagine a block between your thighs. And then might be a little trickier. Push your feet away from each other, like they're not going to move, just all isometrics. Feel those outer hips turn on, like you have a strap to push your thighs into. And then relax and melt and fold your pelvis back down to the ground and release. Just melt and soften. Windshield wiper your knees here. Just kind of finding into that openness, freedom in your spine. And then we'll roll to our side and come up to our hands and knees. All right. So as you find your way to all fours, begin with some cat-cows. Okay, so arching and rounding the spine, taking your time, feeling your way into your vertebrae. Full breaths. And then after a moment, feel free to wag your tail, to feel movement in your vertebrae, to roll around, feel into the freedom through your neck, your shoulders, anything that feels really good to you. And then settle back towards child's pose when you feel ready. Enjoying that deep compression through your knees and your hips, and the sense of long spaciousness in your spine. Full breaths here. All right, let's come back up onto all fours, curl your toes under, and lift to a dog pose. Let's pedal your feet and feel that movement here, opening up the heels, the Achilles, the calves. Feeling yourself sway maybe from one, weighting yourself into one side and then the other. And feel as you kind of move into one hand and then the other hand into one foot and the other foot, that connection you have with the ground. What does the ground feel like when you put your weight into it? What does it feel like when you kind of push off the ground? So feel those connections of yielding. And then find it with all four limbs at the same time. So feeling stillness, drop in, rise up through your spine, melt your skull, find your breath. See if you can feel this pose as being a very grounding force for you. As you're ready, walk your feet forward, come to Uttanasana. Relax your skull, wag your tail, shimmy your shoulders, anything that you want to do. Feel into the extension of your spine, reaching forward, thigh bones moving back. I feel that extension. Feel free to, if you want to pedal here, you can. Opening up through your heart. And we're going to put our hands on blocks. Walk the blocks over to one side, kind of like we do with our hands in child's pose sometimes, but now we'll do it in this posture. Move, as you move over to, let's say you're going to the right, we're going to reach your left hip back. And if you're going the other way, just the opposite hip, rolling back. Inner thighs rolling back. Feel those four corners of your feet. Reach and extend your heart forward. And then come back to neutral, melt your knees, fold, let your spine relax. And then come up to a half lift again and walk your hands over to the other side. Feeling that opposite hip stretch away, a little internal rotation of the thighs, grounding the four corners of your feet, the heart expansive. And relax and melt again to Uttanasana, knees bent, relax. And then rising all the way up. Bring your arms to the sky if it's comfortable for you. Reaching up, maybe reaching back, see what feels nice. And let's cactus open, give a good squeeze, feel that back body, open it up. And then exhale and bring your forearms come to touch, chin tucks down. Let's interlace your hands behind the base of your skull and very gently pull your head down, just very gently, and see if you can follow this path, kind of letting it ripple down your spine. Bend your knees as you roll forward, feeling that sense of opening the back line of your body, and then release your skull and find a halfway lift. Melt and fold again. Step back to dog pose. Feeling that length in your body. Let's take our feet wide apart on the mat. Turn your toes in a little bit and just feel that internal rotation. Notice what it feels like to just have your legs in a slightly different position. Breathing well. Now you can keep your legs here or you can put them back to neutral and come to a plank. Holding yourself steady, feeling the shoulders move away from the ears, a grounding force in your body. When you're ready, we can find the ground. So you can bring your knees down first if you want. Roll the shoulders a few times here. Feel that mobility. Inhale, cobra pose. The chest opens big and wide. Exhale and release to come down. Try it again. Any position that feels good. Find the back bend that you love that supports the deep opening of your front line. And then melt and fold again. Put your hands underneath your forehead, curl your toes under, lift your legs up and bring your legs wide again like we did in dog pose. Inhale, lift your hips up, find that strength of your glutes and your hamstrings, and let's turn your legs out, toes turned out, knees turn out, and then turn them back, and maybe in, maybe just facing the ground, and a couple of passes here of rolling open, make sure your core is supporting this, and rolling in. Just say hello to those hip joints. And then relax that. Let's come up onto all fours and feel the movement of your spine. Release anything. You can wag your tail, circle, wiggle around in your spine, whatever feels nice to you. Back to child's pose. Open up the back body again. And now you can choose to just bring your right foot forward here, or if you prefer, come to dog pose and then swing your right foot forward. So however you like to transition, we're bringing our right leg in front to a lunge. Lift your back knee up off the ground. Once you get there, hands can be on blocks. And let's start to bend and straighten your knee. Again, find yourself savoring sensation in the body. Of course, none of us can really ever fully prepare for losing something. You know, you can have an
injury or get sick or have something happen where you lose a little bit of capacity in your body some way. And it's nearly impossible for us to fully understand how much we appreciate a functioning part of us until we lose it. So think back to recent or past events when you've lost some mobility or stability or function of some kind in your body or your mind. And have a moment to just recognize that we can appreciate what we have right now instead of waiting for it to be gone for us to really value it. So as you come into a lunge and find stillness now, find a part of your body that you just so value, your stability, your strength, your flexibility, your mobility, or something that's functioning well. Let's just have a moment to really dive into deep appreciation for how this is working so well for you. Maybe it's your vision, maybe it's your hearing. It could be anything at all. Okay. Rising up, crescent lunge. Decide where you want your arms to be. See what it feels like to lift them, or maybe you'd rather have your hands down. Open up through your heart space. And then release your hands down. Back foot comes forward. Hold here. A halfway lift. Growing long. Melt again. Stepping your other foot back. Left foot is in front. Look what you can do. Isn't it amazing that you can sit here and or stand here and do your yoga practice? So let's savor every pose that arises. Let's try to savor. What are you feeling now? What is enjoyable in your body? What are you appreciating? Ground yourself. Feel your lunge coming on up. When you're ready again, put your arms where your body feels like you're most supported. That might mean up overhead, but it could mean down at your sides. Root into your feet and feel that support. Finding breath. Finding the stability of your center. Feeling the weight of your legs root down. And let's release your hands. Hands down onto the blocks. Back foot comes forward. Fold. We're going to come into chair pose. So you decide how you like chair pose. Do you like your feet together? Do you like a block between your thighs? How do you want to be? Feel into that extension through your upper body. So the little tiny back bend that lives here. Draw your femur bones back. Lift your chest. Weight into your heels. We're going to bring our arms out to the sides and lift your heels up a little bit so that you have a sense of balance, balancing on the balls of your toes. Breathing deeply. And from here, we're going to rise up onto your toes. And you might put your heels down, that's okay. Just find your way up, and you can put your hands down. You can bring your arms up anywhere that helps your balance. We're up on our toes. Full breaths. Soften your gaze as you focus on balancing. Soften your gaze. And then release your feet down. We're going to pulse through that movement, not all the way down to chair pose, but just up onto our toes and back to wake up our muscles and our calves. Okay, some of the main ways that we find a lot of support for balance lives in our lower legs. So let's go ahead and find coming up onto your toes and then slowly back onto your heels. Try to do this with a sense of control. Finding breath. Hopefully you're starting to, feel a lot of the subtleties of balance and of the strength that your feet and ankles and calves have. And then one more time, we're going to come up onto our toes. And of course, if you have a toe that's a little troublesome, you can adjust anything that needs adjusting. And then reach your arms up overhead, and we're gonna come back from whence we came. So slowly, heels stay up, back towards chair, and slowly lower your heels back down. Find your breathing. All right, we're gonna come up to stand on our right foot, straight legs, lift the left leg out to the side, and just tip over. Okay? Imagine that you're 7 years old and you're about to do a cartwheel. Okay? Turn your toes forward, breathing deeply. And then we're gonna come back again to our chair. Hands, palms can come together or arms overhead. And let's bounce up to the other side. So find your strength on your left. Lift your right leg so the outer hip's working. Your core is working. Stretch your limbs. Breathing deeply. And then back one more time, coming into a chair. Breathing well. While you're here, if you haven't done already, take your feet hip width apart, lower your torso, take your hands to the outer knees, press your outer knees and your hands into each other. Round through the inner feet, big toe mounds, inner heels. Breathing well. Last time, coming up now, our legs might be a little wider than they were before. Up onto your toes, maybe your arms reach up. Heels come down, pause, find Tadasana. So hopefully you have a little bit of fatigue going on in your legs, just a little bit of awakeness. Okay, bring your palms together and let's notice whatever you're noticing. Notice your body. Notice your breath. Notice where your mind is living within your body. Can you feel your heartbeat? Can you feel the rhythm of your breathing? Inhale, reach your arms up and wide or back, whatever feels good. Swoop down, Uttanasana. Folding forward, let your back relax. A halfway lift, growing long, melt and fold. Let's open our legs sideways on the mat, so a nice wide stance facing the long edge of your mat. Hands can be on blocks or hands can be on the ground. Extend forward. So instead of coming down in Pasrita, have your hands on blocks to the ground so your heart and torso reaches forward. Take your thigh bones back. Unlock your knees. Round the four corners of your feet. And we're going to come all the way up to stand. Turn your feet out a little bit, turning. Find your way down again to a deep squat, elbows inside your knees. Just opening up your inner thighs, getting used to the deep flexion and external rotation of those hip joints. All the way back up, standing star, or you can have your arms down, whichever feels best to you. If you get dizzy from the down up, squeeze to the midline for a moment. We're going to turn our right foot out and our left heel can be straight or turned in, whichever feels good. Let's find triangle pose. Tip your torso. You can use a block or put your hand on your leg, whichever feels good. Open your body up. Shoulders away from the ears. Where are you feeling space in your body here? And savor the spaciousness, the openness. Feel the roots of your feet. Come slowly into Parsvakonasana. Knee bends, stretch your arm over your head. Your hand can be on a block or your elbow can be on your knee. Round into your legs, root your feet down. Feel that openness through the entire left side of your body. Live inside your breath. Keep moving your left thigh bone back. Track your right knee in line with your middle toes over your ankle. And then come all the way back up to stand. Let's turn to the other side, triangle pose to the left.
Adjust your feet to a place that's good for you. Lengthen through your spine, reach forward, bring your hand down onto the block. Your legs are straight. You can go as high up as you want onto your leg. So you don't have to be, way down here. You can be anywhere that feels self-supporting. Root your feet into the ground. Feel that big toe mound drop in. Allow your femur bone, your left femur bone, to reach up into the hip socket and nestle itself. Feel the spine grow. Feel the slight turning, opening of your ribs and your heart. Try not to forget about that back leg. Root into it. Breathing well. Turn this into Parsvottanasana. You can bend your knee, hand can be on the block or elbow on your thigh. Stretch that other arm overhead and feel the extension here. Root your feet well. Feel those outer hips. We've already done a lot of work to open up the outer hip muscles. Maybe if you're using a block and your hands on that block, press your knee up against your arm so you're opening up into that support. Around the four corners of your feet. Notice if your feet got crinkled, if your toes snuggled up on themselves, spread them out. And then come all the way up to stand. Let's heel toe our feet very consciously. Turn in, turn out. Turn in, turn out. Finding your way back into a standing posture. We're going to take our feet to the edges of the mat. So turn toward the short edge of your mat now. Feet turn on the edges of your mat and come down to a squat. Elbows inside your knees or hands on your knees, whatever feels good. Notice your weight bearing. Can you even things out to the best of your ability? Finding breath. You can have your hips, if you want to go into a very low squat, you can do that too. So just find where you want to be in space right now. Even weight through your feet. Try not to lean into one leg more than the other. Notice the arches, lift the arches, round the four corners. And then relax that. Let's go ahead and place your hands down onto the ground. Come back to dog pose. Round the big toe mounds here and pull your feet apart so that you're lighting up that whole outer line of the legs. And then relax that and come forward into a plank. Hold yourself steady. Lower yourself down to the ground. Are you savoring? Are you savoring what you're doing? Sometimes it's easier to just savor than others. Sometimes you savor a practice after it's done. You have to work through things in process. But even the efforting, can you allow yourself to enjoy? Let's lift to a cobra pose when you're ready. Okay, relax. Melt. Hold here. Come up onto all fours. Breathing deeply. And we're going to come into Vasisthasana on our right side. Right hand. This time, I know we did this. I have done this sometime this week. I can't remember. But instead of having your left or your right leg perpendicular to your body and to the mat, let's have it in line. So we're going to have our hand, our knee, and both feet lining up on one line. This is a little more challenge for your balance. So if you need extra support, take your right hand a little further back. Okay, so just find where you are. Press your shin into the ground and lift that arm in the air. Ground through your left foot, ground through your right shin, shoulder blades down the back. Finding breath. Now, if you feel stable enough, you can, I'm hitting the couch, so I need to have a little more room to do this. If you want to lift your leg up, you can. Pressing that shin deeply into the ground. And then relax and come onto all fours. Feel free to go into child's pose between the two sides or just switch. So now we're coming into our left Your hand can be on a block, your hand can be on the ground. We're lining up our left hand, our left knee, our left foot, and our right foot. If anything feels like, oh, this is too much of a tightrope for me to balance on, take your left hand further out to the left. Shoulder blades down the back. Feel that support. Reach the arm in the air. Press your shin into the ground. Press your foot into the ground. Feel the support of your core. And if your body is ready for a little bit more, lift that leg in the air. Open up through your chest. Keep pressing through your shin. Finding your breathing. And then when you're ready, come onto all fours. And let's just rest back in child's pose for a moment. Feel your body at ease. Your knees can be close. Your knees can be far, whichever feels best to you. Same with your arms. Overhead, down at your sides. Where do you want to be? Okay, let's come to lie down on your right side. Bend your knees. You can have support under your head if you want to. We're going to keep our feet together and do a few clamshells. So we're opening up our knees. Imagine that your knees are like the two shells of a clam that you're opening up and bringing back. So when you do this, try not to rock your torso. So, we're not rocking back and rocking forward. We're keeping very stable with our shoulder, our ribs, and our hip on the ground. And we're just really kind of finding some isolation of moving into that external rotation. Look what your hip can do. Let's savor this little subtle sensation that you're feeling. It's such a pinpointy, obviously, much of the time when we're using these muscles, we're using them in functional movement patterns. So this kind of breaks things down to a very small movement. So just let's savor what your hips can do. Breathing deeply. Make sure you're going as slow on closing the shell as you are on opening. So remembering that concentric and eccentric contractions, those breaks, the eccentrics are the breaks. We gain a lot by having strength in both concentric contraction and eccentric contraction. A lot of times eccentric contractions help us with stability. If we're about to fall and we have to catch ourselves, sometimes, we have to have both of those actions available to us. When you're ready, relax that and let's switch sides. As you all know, I'm terrible at counting, so maybe you were counting, I don't know. But when we do this side, let's just try to sense a sense of evenness where we're coming to the same level of fatigue on one side versus the other. Of course, you can support your head if you need to. The knees are bent, and we're just slowly opening up. So not only savor what your hip is capable of here in this slow moving train of opening and closing, but let's savor the rest of your body too. Can you melt your head? Can you relax? Can you feel that you're staying on that sideline instead of rolling back and rolling forward? Stay in that neutral space so that really we're isolating the action in our hip. Savor the going up and savor the coming back down. Slow and steady. Make sure you're breathing. And you might find that one side feels a lot better than the other, that you might have more awareness, more control, more strength, more range of motion on one side than the other. So try not to judge yourself for I'm better or worse. I have a good side and a bad side. Let's just honor what each side of our body, all the histories and patterns that have created what you're feeling today. Let's honor. These hips have taken you through all the decades of your life. Rest now for a moment and just let your body soften. As you feel ready, we can come back up. Now, you can just find your way to standing, You can find your way to all fours, to dog pose, and then walk your feet forward. However you want to transition to get yourself up to stand. You're gonna need a block for this one, okay? So, Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose, such a beautiful pose, pose of balance, a pose of strength. So if you're a little afraid of this pose or don't like it, you can always put your foot against a wall or your back against a wall to help support you if balance is a challenge for you. When we come into this pose, you can find it from either of the two standing poses we've already done, either triangle pose or Parsva Konasana. The most important thing you want to do, though, is to make sure that your foot, your right foot, is pointing straight toward the short end of your mat. And we're not going to turn it in or out. Okay, so ground those feet. I'm narrowing up my stance because my space is narrow, but you can take a nice wide stance to begin this if you want. All right, so however you're gonna get into the pose, either by just stepping up onto your leg or coming into triangle or Parsva Konasana first, we're gonna rise up onto our right foot. Make sure that right foot didn't move. Hand can be on the block to help with your balance. You can, just like in Vasisthasana, you can take your right hand out to the right more if need be. Lift open into this posture. Feel the strength of your core, your hips. Lift that leg in the air, press your foot down into the ground. Feel the long spine. Unlock your knee. Drop your shoulders away from the ears. Stretch heart to hand. Stretch crown to tail to heel. How's your breathing? Look what you can do. And a big, giant step back and out of the pose. We're going to come to the second side. So same, we're going to point our left toes toward the short edge of our mat. And one of the things you want to focus on is not letting that foot turn when you hop up onto it. We want to keep the toes pointing straight. Bend your knee, straighten your knee, however you like to get into the pose. Eventually we're going to find our way up and out. All right, so hand on block. Be mindful that the block, if it's on its tall height, is quite wobbly. If you feel a little nervous about that, stack two blocks on top of each other so you have a more solid base underneath your hand if you're worried about falling off the block with your hand. Lift that leg in the air, open heart to hands, unlock your standing knee and feel the work of rooting your foot down. Breathing well. So both outer hips, your core are all working strongly. How's your breath? Good giant step back from where you came. Find your way to Tadasana. All right, let's savor 2 feet on the ground. Sense of balance. Close your eyes for a moment. If you're comfortable, you can always keep them open if you prefer. And just feel the strength of your legs. Hopefully your legs feel a little bit of, like you've been active, that they're awake, maybe even a little fatigued. Unlock your knees, feel the soles of your feet. Let's come walking to the front of our mat. Last pass through vinyasa. Inhale, arms coming up. Exhale, folding forward. Halfway lift. Dog pose. Here, wide legs. Turn your toes in now. Internally rotate your thighs. Come forward into a plank. Put your feet where you want them to be. Shoulders over your wrists. Let's lower yourself down to the ground. Take your arms down at your sides, out to the sides or overhead. Your choice. Legs are wide. Lift everything up. Feel that hugging of the sacrum with your muscles. And then melt and fold up onto all fours, folding to child's pose. Again, knees can be close, knees can be far, whatever feels right and good in your body. Breathe here for a moment. Just recognize that the work of your practice is now coming to a close, that we get to find rest and ease.
Feel into a sense of softness. Let's come onto our back when you're ready. Now, if you're feeling at all vulnerable in your SI joints, sometimes standing on one leg like that can be challenging, then it would be nice to do a supported bridge pose. So put a block under your pelvis. And if you are feeling okay in your SI joints, then let's move toward stretching open your hips. So either a reverse pigeon pose, you can even come into pigeon pose, or thigh over thigh like we did in the beginning of class. However you want to stretch open through your hip. And remember, sometimes it's nice to move a little bit. Sometimes it's nice to be still. If your pelvis is on a block, just hang out there. There's no rush. There's plenty of time to find your way into these postures. Breathing deeply. When you're ready, you can transition to the other side, and there's zero rush. If you're like, no, I love this, I have to stay here, then by all means, stay put. There's no rush to transition towards Shavasana, which we're on our way to. But this is the joy of doing yoga at home. Maybe you have 5 more poses that you really wanted to do in your body today, that your body's asking. So if that's the case, just ignore me, keep rolling, okay? And if you're ready to do the other side and feel comfy, see what that feels like. Remember that you can always support in so many different ways. I think you all know the ways, but if there's anything that you need, take it. Maybe props can help you. Lately, I've been experimenting with doing a reverse pigeon pose with my foot on a block and pressing my knee away. So there's always ways to explore every posture. So never feel like there's only one way. Your body is never the same way one day to the next. So I'm learning to be aware and compensate for what the day needs by adjusting, using props, changing, modifying. Remember that you do the poses, they're for you. You are not for the poses. Try to unbind yourself from expectation. Unbind yourself from judgment. All right, so ask yourself if there's anything else your body needs. And then listen, follow. So you don't have to rush right into Shavasana. There's plenty of time. You can take all the time in the world that you need to let your body find itself coming into ease. As Shavasana arises for you, remember that warmth and props are friends. So you get cozy, get comfortable, support yourself in whatever way you need. And as you allow yourself to settle into the ground in Shavasana, there is such a gift to be found here. So let's not run away from the gift by bringing your mind elsewhere. Bring your mind here now into your body. Let the weight of your body, feel the weight of your body dropping into the earth. Maybe start with your head and let your limbs follow. Feel your way into the restfulness, sense of ease through your shoulders, your ribs, your pelvis. Allow your breath to flow well through you. Again, savoring the moment. What is it? Is there something that feels really good right now? Just to rest. Allow yourself to be present for the experience of Shavasana, consciously melting, consciously creating freedom, space. As you're ready, widen and deepen and broaden your breath and live inside the sensation of that breath. Start to invite movement in your body, breathing deeply. Actually finding some movement and coming onto your side. Find your way up to a comfortable seat. And when you're ready, bring your hands together at your heart. Part of this offering that we give to the world can be not only sending our loving kindness, our energy toward another, but a sense of presence, of savoring moment to moment awareness. So, whoever you're thinking of, offer them your love and care, but also cherish them. See if you can place them firmly in your mind's eye and in your hearts, and offer them deep gratitude and a sense of cherishing. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a beautiful day.